Imagine this. The year is 1944. Subhas Chandra Bose's Indian National Army, the INA, is marching through Burma, trying to break into India. You've probably heard of Bose's famous slogan, "Give me blood, and I will give you freedom." But here's something you probably haven't heard. In the hills of northeast India, Bose's army wasn't alone. Tribal warriors, especially the Kukis, played a role that history books barely mention. Today, let's walk into the misty hills of northeast and see how the Kukis became silent pillars in Bose's dream for a free India. Before we dig deep into the Kuki role in Bose's INA, let's roll back to the early 1940s. World War II was tearing the world apart. India, still under British colonial rule, found itself dragged into the war without the consent of its people. While Gandhi and the Congress pushed, "Quit India," Subhas Chandra Bose had a different vision. He wanted to fight fire with fire. If Britain could be shaken by force, then force must be used. So Bose created the INA, the Indian National Army, with the support of Japan. It was a bold gamble to march through Burma into India's northeast and spark a revolt that would topple the British Raj. Now here's where the Kukis come in. The INA's dream of entering India depended on the northeast, and if you know that land, you know it's not easy. Dense jungles, endless hills, heavy rains, snakes, malaria. Add to that British resistance, and the INA needed allies. But who could navigate this unforgiving terrain better than the people who lived there for centuries? Flashback to the Kukis. Before World War II, the Kukis, a fierce and resilient community, lived across the Indo-Burma frontier. In present-day Manipur, Mizoram, Nagaland, and Myanmar. For centuries, they had lived by their own customs, ruled by their village chiefs. But British colonial expansion changed everything. In 1917, the Kukis rose in revolt against forced labor and British taxes. Known as the Anglo-Kuki War, it raged for 3 years. The British crushed the revolt, but the memory remained. When World War II reached their hills in 1942, the Kukis still carried scars of their last battle with the Empire. Many of them saw the INA not just as an army, but as a chance to finally shake off colonial chains. The March of the INA. Subhas Chandra Bose had an iron will and a simple, dangerous idea. Seize the moment while the Empire was busy elsewhere and cut a road to freedom. The INA gathered from many sources: former prisoners, idealists, men and women who believed the old order could be broken if someone dared enough. They had energy, they had spirit, but to move through these hills, spirit wasn't enough. In 1944, the INA launched its most daring move, the Imphal and Kohima campaign. Japanese and INA forces crossed into Manipur and Nagaland, trying to capture Imphal and Kohima. For the INA, this was the gateway to India. For the Kukis, it was home. This is where the Kukis enter, not as a single unified bloc marching in step, but as villages, with their own ledgers of memory, their own calculations. It's easy to judge from a classroom. It's harder when your granary's low and a patrol shows up at dusk. A Kuki guide moves ahead, feeling the ridge through his soles. He knows that one wrong turn at the saddle puts the column above a ravine that looks like a meadow from far away. He taps the earth with his stick. He listens to the forest. When cicadas go quiet, he freezes. He raises his hand, and a file of men he's known for 3 hours also freeze. He points with his chin, then melts into the shadows. No speeches, no salutes, just knowledge doing its quiet work. By day, porters move. Men, women, teenagers. The straps cut into foreheads. The weight sits heavy on the spine. Some carry rice, some carry rounds. Some carry medical tins and a hand-crank radio that doesn't like humidity. The climb is long, the drop is sudden. Feet slip, leeches find ankles. No one takes notes. At dusk, the headman counts who came back. He also counts the sacks. Both numbers matter. In the ledger, a single line appears. Column supplied. Behind the line are 20 stories too small for the official record and too large to be forgotten by the families who lived them. Imagine the tension. A knock on your door at midnight. Was it the INA asking for food, or the British demanding loyalty? One choice could save your family, the other could destroy it. The Battle of Imphal and Kukis role. The INA and Japanese struck in March 1944. The Battle of Imphal had begun. The Kukis played crucial roles. Some villages provided intelligence on enemy movements. Others carried food and arms for advancing Japanese INA troops. Many worked under the British, helping supply Allied defenses in Imphal. Caught between loyalty and survival, the Kukis shaped the battle in unseen ways. But as fighting intensified, villages became battlegrounds. Air raids and artillery fire destroyed crops. Hunger and disease spread. For the Kukis, the Battle of Imphal was not just history. It was devastation etched into memory. The silent sacrifice. The Kukis who sided with the INA weren't marching in open daylight. They were moving silently, helping soldiers cross rivers, guiding them through misty valleys, carrying weapons on their backs. Many paid dearly. Villages were burned. Families were punished. Some Kukis were executed by the British for collaborating with the enemy. Others died unknown, their names never recorded. And yet, their contribution was real. Without their knowledge of the land, the INA's push into India would have been far more difficult. Aftermath, what the Kukis lost. When the Japanese and INA were defeated in mid-1944, the war left behind a wasteland. Entire Kuki villages had vanished, families starved, orphans roamed the hills. The British left after the war, but the Kukis were left with nothing. No recognition, no compensation. The world remembered Imphal and Kohima as great Allied victories, but it forgot the hill people who had paid the price. Why don't we hear about them? Now, here's a question. If the Kukis played such a role, why don't we read about them in our history books? Part of the answer lies in politics. After the war, the INA was defeated. The British quickly dismissed local contributions as insignificant. They painted the Kukis either as collaborators or as irrelevant tribes. And when India gained independence, the spotlight stayed fixed on larger cities, bigger battles, and mainstream leaders. The sacrifices of small communities like the Kukis simply faded away. This isn't unique, by the way. History often forgets the smaller voices, but forgetting doesn't mean they weren't there. Why does it matter today? So why talk about this now? Because history isn't just about the past, it's about identity. For the Kukis, remembering their role in the INA is about dignity. It's about telling their children, we too fought for freedom. We too stood against the empire. And for the rest of India, it's a reminder. Independence wasn't won only in Delhi or Bombay. It wasn't only Gandhi's Salt March or Bose's fiery speeches. It was also the sweat of unnamed villagers in the northeast, who guided soldiers through jungles and lost their homes in the process. The legacy of resistance. Think about it. The Kukis had already fought the British in 1917-19. Then, in the 1940s, they were once again drawn into the world's biggest war. 2 generations of struggle, yet little recognition. And maybe that's what makes their story so haunting. They weren't fighting for glory. They weren't fighting for statues or memorials. They were simply caught in history's storm and chose, in their own way, to resist. So, next time you hear about Subhas Bose and the INA, remember this. Behind the vision of one man stood thousands of unknown faces. The Kukis were among them. Their hills became battlegrounds. Their homes became shelters. Their choices shaped the course of the INA's dream. And though history may have forgotten them, we don't have to. We can remember. We can tell their story. We can say their name. Because freedom is never just the work of the famous few. It is always the sacrifice of the many unseen. So here's the question I leave you with. If history forgot them once, will we let it happen again?